There is no better feeling than an Edmonton Oilers win to close out your year. Let's get into it. Welcome in, everyone. My name is Sam, and this is another episode of the Rush Hockey Podcast. And Happy New Year to each and every single one of you. I want to start off by saying thank you so much for helping me and guiding me through the last year and liking some of my videos, following, letting your comments be known. I do this for fun and I enjoy it, so I really, truly appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving me. I'm sorry that I've been away. I had to deal with a lot of personal issues outside of being able to create content for you, but I'm back. We're starting a new year and we're going to pick up right where we left off. Game 37, December 31st, the Edmonton Oilers versus the Utah Hockey Club. It was a game that many Oilers fans put in their calendar as a game we should win. Now, this is no knock on the Utah Hockey Club. They are a phenomenally good team. They're a young team. They're learning, and of course, they're from Arizona, but they have a system there. They have young guys that are coming up ready to play. And guys, Gunther, if you guys haven't seen him, I watched him play on the Oil Kings. Dylan Gunther is a dynamic forward. I wish the Oilers had him. But overall, the Oilers were projected to come into this game and to win, and we needed to close this year out. We all know the history of the Edmonton Oilers during the summer. I don't want to talk about it, but we're going to get into the scoring summary. In the first period, the Edmonton Oilers come out flying. They set up beautifully in the Utah zone. Podkolzin to Ekholm, first one on the game, sixth of the season for Ekholm with 4 minutes and 30 seconds just starting the game, okay? Just when you believe that the Oilers are going to come out flying, they're going to dominate this team, 2 minutes later, or less than 2 minutes later, shortly 2 minutes, the Utah Hockey Club scores. Jack McBain with his 10th, assisted by Dylan Gunther and Devin Cooley. 24 assists for Devin Cooley, by the way. In the second period, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets the Oilers on the board, almost identical. They come out jumping 4 minutes and 53 seconds into the period. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets his 8th of the season. McDavid gets his 38th assist, and Brown. And it was beautiful because as the Oilers were exiting out, as the Utah Hockey Club was exiting out of the zone, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with a very clutch tip of the puck. This is important to have active sticks. Knocks it back to Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid to Brown. Brown then back to McDavid. McDavid over to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and in the back of the net. That goal doesn't get any prettier. 2 minutes later, the Oilers come roaring back. And guess who it is? Connor Brown with the puck on his stick. He gets a feed from Connor McDavid, as we all know, can fly up the ice. Hands it over to Brown. Brown does a turn at the half wall, dishes it off beautifully to Stecher as he's flying into the zone as that second layer of offense. With his third on the season, Troy Stecher puts the Oilers up 3-1. And I love the fact that the Oilers are now starting to take command. In the second period, we really took command of the Utah Hockey Club. And their third and fourth line were very energetic. They were in the defensive zone, in the offensive zone, banging bodies. I think the Utah Hockey Club had more hits than the Edmonton Oilers by the end of it. But the Oilers found their opportunities, they capitalized, and they made sure that they had possession of that puck. In the third period, towards the end, the Oilers, well, the whole third period, it was Utah trying to come back. But the Oilers played their game, they stayed the course, and at the end, Leon Draisaitl with his 27th goal of the season with 19 minutes left in the hockey game from Ty Emberson and Matthias Ekholm. And the reason I like this goal, it was an empty net goal, by the way. The reason I like this goal is because when Ty Emberson got the puck in his own zone, I meant to say own zone, but he had the opportunity to fire it down the ice and into the open net. There was nobody standing in his way, but he found Leon Draisaitl, offered it up. Leon Draisaitl skates it into the net, and I really like the class act move by Leon Draisaitl going over to Emberson and saying thank you for that. The overall great game. There was a lot of action in this game. It's very energetic, high paced. Utah has a very good hockey team there, and I like their squad. We're gonna see what happens next. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is Jeff Skinner. I don't know what to do with Jeff Skinner. As every Oilers fan out there, we had this vision, we had this thought process in our mind that Jeff Skinner was going to be the old Jeff Skinner of what we saw in Carolina or what we saw in Buffalo, putting up points and making the defense on the other team pay. But for some reason, the 1 year, $3 million contract to Jeff Skinner, who arguably is coming to the Edmonton Oilers to win a cup, doesn't seem like it's working. And as a fan, I want to let you guys know that I was right there with all of you. All of you. When we signed him, I thought we were going to get a 20, 30, 40 potential goal scorer in Jeff Skinner. Now, he is on the decline, but he's playing on the fourth line. Does that not seem odd to you? For those of you who are hockey fans, I feel like that would be something that doesn't make sense. You have a $3 million sniper that you're playing in a fourth line role. And I don't understand why that would happen. And me personally, as a fan, look, it's an opinion, whether you agree with it or not. I think the experiment with Jeff Skinner and the Edmonton Oilers is coming to an end, and I think we should see him traded. It's just not working out. No knock on the player. I get it, but just where he's positioned on the Edmonton Oilers just doesn't make sense. I mean, ideally, he was supposed to be in that top six. He was supposed to be with Leon Draisaitl, but look, I'm gonna go out here on a limb and say this, that Jeff Skinner has never played in the playoffs. I want to remind everybody of this. He's never played in the playoffs. When we acquired Jeff Skinner, we were assuming that we were going to get the Jeff Skinner that could be ready to play in the playoffs. What we've seen in seasons past, that sniper ability, that elite ability to find the net, we're not seeing that during the season. We're holding hope for that being ready for the playoffs. However, getting to the playoffs, do we hold on to Jeff Skinner past the trade deadline and then use him in the playoffs? Or do we get rid of him? Me personally, I think this experiment's not working. I think we gotta move on past him and maybe fill that fourth or third line role with an impact player or a third or fourth line guy. But Jeff Skinner is not producing the way he should be producing. Right now, he's got 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points. He averages about 10 to 15 minutes of ice time in the 37, 36 games that he's played. He's a minus 11. Let me reiterate that. He is a minus 11 overall this season. So evidently, it's not working out for him. And in the last 5 games, 6 games, go back. He has 0 points. I mean, in the games that he played, I know he was scratched for one of them. He has 0 points, and he's a -4. So it's not working. I think Jeff Skinner and the Edmonton Oilers need to part ways at the trade deadline, and maybe we can find him a situation where he can have that success and play that top 6 minutes, because it's not going to be here. And I think the Oilers moving on from Jeff Skinner could open up the door to potentially looking at either a top 4 defenseman or a third line center. Now, I know that there is Adam Henrique as a third line center. I think he's a great centerman. Ideally, we want to see Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think way back the Oilers envisioned, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. But with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing so well on that top line, adding in a third line center would be incredibly beneficial to the Oilers. And I think that and getting a top four defenseman are neck and neck in terms of priority. When it comes to centermen in the NHL, I can't think of a centerman that could fit the bill other than, I mean, a few years back we had Bukestad. We need a third. I mean, look, Nashville is struggling right now. Money, if money was not an issue, but money is an issue, Ryan O'Reilly, I think, would be good. I know he plays top line minutes, but if he bought into the system, guys, listen, if you buy into the system, you sacrifice the minutes that you would normally play, come together and play, you could win. Now, Ryan O'Reilly obviously is not something that's rumored to the Edmonton Oilers or anything like that, so please don't say that I'm doing referencing that rumor, but we need a solid third centerman that can really shut down the opposing team's offense. And I think a Selke like centerman. I mean, Barkov in the summer or during the Stanley Cup playoffs was he wreaked havoc on the Edmonton Oilers. And I think the Oilers going into the playoffs need to learn that lesson that having a third line centerman or even a fourth, well, definitely a fourth line centerman, being able to shut down the offense allows for McDavid and Draisaitl to get their rest and not have to put them on the same line because then it just jumbles up the whole thing. The other thing with that is the top four defensemen. Ty Emberson was brought in the CC trade. You have Brett Kulak, you have Darnell Nurse, you have Troy Stetcher, you have Matthias Ekholm, and Evan Bouchard. Evidently, there is one person that's going to be on the outside looking in. Some people may believe it's Stetcher. Some people believe it's Emberson. Could be Kulak. Could be Nurse. At one point this season, we wanted to trade. I mean, I wanted to personally trade Nurse. I'm not happy about the dollar amount, but it took me a while to get comfortable with that. But Matthias Ekholm is not going anywhere. Evan Bouchard is not going anywhere. Obviously, Darnell Nurse is not going anywhere. So you have Kulak, you have Stetcher, and you have Emberson. Emberson has played incredibly well this season. Considering we didn't expect him to play, I'll say it, he was a extra piece to a CC trade that we got, okay? Kulak is your veteran defenseman. You're not moving on from Kulak. And Stetcher plays really strong for his size. Unfortunately, I have thought that Emberson would be the one that, when it comes to the playoffs, will ease you in. Some people might believe it's Stetcher. Okay, regardless, it's going to be either Stetcher or Emberson that has to be that sixth or seventh defenseman. The Oilers need to go out and get an actual top four defenseman to play with Darnell Nurse. Stetcher has been fitting the bill really well. Kulak has subbed in very well. Emberson can play there, but there are teams right now that are making moves. I personally, my opinion, I would actually like to see Edmonton look into the New York Rangers situation, find a way to get Keandre Miller. That is a hot take. I'm sorry, but I think Keandre Miller would be a perfect fit next to Darnell Nurse. He may not fit the bill of a top four defenseman, but I think him being a young defenseman, he hits, he uses his size, he's physical, he can move the puck. The Rangers are fire sailing essentially everybody or trying to figure out what works. If I'm the Edmonton Oilers, that's the first place I'm looking is the New York Rangers to get Keandre Miller. I think he would be a great option. I still like Colton Parayko. I just don't like the dollar. Cam Fowler would have been an amazing addition, but he's the dollar. The money doesn't work, and plus he's now on a different team. The Oilers really need to look at adding a top four defenseman, maybe a third. Well, the two priorities are top four defenseman third line center, and in my opinion, I would go for another top six winger. I would go for another top six winger because Podkolzin can play on the third and fourth line, but you don't want to break up that line. Okay, never mind. I changed my mind. Yes, I changed my mind. I'm sorry. We'll go with a third line center or third line center, top four defenseman, and then either a third or fourth line winger. We need grit. We need energy. We need somebody to hit because I think we're gonna go back into our normal third line of Henrique, Janmark, Brown. Corey Perry is going to be on the fourth line. We'll need another winger there. And Derek Ryan, I don't know if he's going to be that player that's ready for the playoff push. He's a little bit oversized in most cases, skilled, but I think in case there's injuries, having him ready would be feasible. So maybe looking at fourth line center. And I know there's talk about Noah Philp filling that role. Look, I'm all for it, but Noah Philp has not played a full season in the NHL. And what we have seen in terms of the sample size, I think he's promising. I think he's good. And I think he will get better. If we see more of Philp in the Edmonton Oilers roster throughout the season, through long road trips, through stretches, then maybe we could think about that playoff discussion or if he can fill in that line or fill in that role in the playoffs later. But I know that there's been chatter about Noah Philp being put into the Oilers roster potentially to take over that fourth center spot. We have no idea if he could do that. The Oilers need to play him there, see if that's worth it. We have Savoy that's also waiting. He's a winger that we could potentially play. There's many options that the Oilers have for this offseason, or sorry, for the rest of the season leading up into trade deadline. But Jeff Skinner's got to go. The Oilers need a top four defense or a top four defenseman. They need a third line center, and they need an energy winger for the fourth line. Realistically, that's that. If I'm gonna break it down that way, uh, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm excited because this year is promising. We ended off with a win. You know, we're ending off that year that we started off this season really bad. We're going in. I mean, this is the cup year. This is realistically the Oilers should be primed in position to win the cup this year, if not next. We should have won it last year, but I digress. The Oilers unfortunately don't have money to spend. So, if they can find a way to move dollar for dollar in and out and have other teams find a way to get these assets because we're never going to have a team that is better than the one that we had last year and this year. I think this year we have a better team skill wise and record wise. Because you guys remember last year we were 2-9 and 2-9-1 at one point in the season. So the 2025 prediction, guys, for the Oilers is I think we make a trade for a defenseman. Out of that list that I think that the Oilers do, I think the only thing the Oilers complete is the defenseman. I think that's the thing that pushes us over the top. I'd like to see everything on that checklist completed, but I think it with the Oilers situation, the amount of money that they have, the amount of cap room that they have, I would be happy if they just got one. So my prediction for the 2025 season or 2025 year for the Edmonton Oilers, I was going to end that off with what I believe 2025 is going to hold for the Oilers. Bold, bold prediction. The Oilers win the cup. And then the Oilers retain Connor McDavid. And last, the Oilers start off next season or finish off next year, I should say. The Oilers finish off 2025 calendar year number one in the league. They're good enough to do it. I want the Oilers to be number one in the league. So those are all three very bold 2025 predictions. If you guys think there's anything different, you have, your opinions of your own fans, by all means, drop it in the comments. Let me know. I'd like to hear your guys' predictions. And I wish you guys nothing but a great freaking new year. Here's to hockey. Here's to Oilers hockey. Here's to NHL. Here's to the sport of hockey. And here's to happiness and prosperity to each and every single one of you. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in to my fan view rant about the Oilers and what I think they should do. Thank you for the follows, the comments, everything, guys. I hope to see you on the next video.